it's going to be a short class because remember 3 plus 1, 3 hours lecture and 1 hour blended learning. And so that 1 hour blended learning, you will be on ebook platform, or like for example, today I will assign you a video to actually watch. Okay, so for this part of the lecture, this actually fits inside chapter 2. And this is actually from this book down here, which is the book that we've been using in the past for MKT646. All right, because you are a new cohort, you have a new syllabus. That's why you're taking MKT668. But the equivalent strategic marketing management course that was existing in UiTM before this is actually MKT646. So for 646, they actually use this book by Keller, and the 2 other authors here. And in this book, they focus on the Asian experience. So a lot of the examples inside here are from China, India, Malaysia, Singapore, and so on and so forth, right? And the reason why they use the Asian experience so that we can actually see representation of businesses that we can recognize, or are businesses that we see on a daily basis. So when we look at it, we know, oh, okay, yeah, this is a Malaysian company. And what is the structure within the Malaysian company or the Chinese company, Taiwan company, whatever it is. Okay. So this book is not difficult to find. If you want to look for it, you can. If you want to look up this particular section, you also can. The reason why I'm covering this section here is because this marketing implementation and control section inside your current book is not extensive. Dia tak banyak. Information tu ada, tapi is more like an overview ataupun brief sahaja. It is actually more extensive dalam buku, okay, dalam buku ni. So the reason why I'm bringing this up is because dalam you punya marketing plan yang you kena tulis tu, assignment yang terakhir tu, you memang kena buat one part of it is actually dia punya implementation dan juga control. Okay, so mungkin you tercari-cari apakah konten yang sesuai untuk implementation dan juga control. So that's why I'm giving you these slides, and you memang boleh nampak daripada slide ni, you boleh agak dan you boleh nampak terus what is expected of you. Okay, so here I will just quickly go through because today the class is quite short. And so I'll just go through these slides, and if you have any questions, you can actually let me know. Right. So here, in chapter 2, it's all about strategic thinking, strategic planning, and so on, right? So that's why we are talking about the marketing plan. So we are saying that we have to plan, because if you don't plan, we plan to fail, right? If you don't plan, we plan to fail. So planning obviously is an important portion of any organization. But the thing here is that plans are merely plans if they're not implemented. So here, as we go into the slides, you can actually see that a marketing company is great not by what it is, but what it does. So any organization becomes great because over a long period of time, they do things that are efficient, memorable, and so on and so forth. They're able to satisfy their customers continuously. So the important focus dekat sini adalah kita tekankan kepada apa dia boleh buat dan apa yang dia selalu buat. Okay? So plan tu penting, ya, kita kena tahu macam mana kita nak plan, kita kena akur yang planning tu boleh membuatkan kita buat fikiran tentang apa yang kita nak buat. Tetapi at the end of the day, bila kita dah plan, sekarang kita kena laksanakan. Okay? So marketing implementation is pelaksanaan. Nak buat kerja macam mana kita buat kerja. Alright? So here you can see that the very important text from this particular slide ialah basically implementation ialah di mana we turn marketing plans into action. Okay, kita nak merealisasikan plan kita. Okay, and what's important here also is that kita nak make sure yang actions kita are executed in a manner that accomplishes the plan's stated objective. Okay. So bila kita plan, you already know that we actually set dia punya goals dan dia punya objectives. Untuk 1 tahun tu kita nak capai apa? Kita set sendiri sebagai marketing department yang sedang usahakan marketing plan tersebut. Right? Then after that kita dah ada plan, kita kena make sure that kita implement plan tu. Dan the reason why kita go to the trouble of doing all this planning is to make sure that whatever we plan helps to accomplish dia punya company punya objectives and goals. That's why we bother to do so much planning. We spend so much time to actually come up with the whole documents. Sebab kita tahu at the end of the day, at the end of the year, kita memang nak capai dia punya goals. Right? Tetapi what we need to pay attention to here, apa yang penting dekat sini ialah kita perlu tahu yang implementation tu penting, okay? Implementation tu penting sebab however good we are at writing the marketing plan, if we cannot implement it, we will not reach the company's objectives and goals. Okay? So what would be some of the focus that we want to look at when we talk about implementation? So these are some examples here, looking at different areas of a company. So for example, you can see here, very important for any organization is the company continuously builds and tracks customer satisfaction and loyalty. So you can see here, the keyword here ialah continuously tau. Dia bukan buat sekali saja. Dia bukan ukur sekali, dia bukan tengok sekali saja. Rather, apa dia buat ialah for every single campaign yang dia buat, every activity yang dia buat, every product, every service yang dia ada, dia consistently make sure that dia build dan juga track customer satisfaction dan loyalty. Because we know that at the bedrock of customer relationship management, kalau customer satisfied, dia mungkin beli lagi. Kalau customer tak satisfied, tak mungkin dia akan beli lagi. Mungkin dia akan stop terus, dia tak akan beli. Okay? So that means that at the heart of it, if we want to maintain the business, we want to make sure that the customers keep on coming to us, we have to make sure that kita continuously build customer satisfaction. And dia kata build sebab tak semestinya semua company dia mula secara hebat. So maybe gradually they become better and better and better at their products and also services that maybe at the very start of their operations, they boleh lah satisfy the customer, maybe they get 2.5 out of 5 bintang. But because they bother to make good plans and implement it properly, they can actually track over time that they continuously build their punya satisfaction ke tahap yang lebih bagus. Okay? So you can really start to see running a business is actually not so easy, especially when the business is very complex. There are actually a lot of parts that we have to actually take care of. Nak cakap tu senang, nak buat tu susah. Right. So here you can see that the reason why we bother to plan is that we hope that our plans actually fit our organization. And if it fits our organization, then we can have some hope of growth and some hope of survival over the years. So to reinstate, we are saying that we can have a very brilliant strategic marketing plan, but we must also remember that we must implement it properly. All right? So I don't know if you can see here, I'm going to blow this up. Right? Okay. So ultimately, there is a definition of what implementation is inside marketing, and the definition is actually given on this slide. So for instance, you first have to know lah that implementation actually talks about who, where, when, and how. Siapa nak buat, apa kita nak buat, bagaimana kita nak buat, okay? That all is about implementation. All right? That all is about implementation. And when we want to implement in this day and time, we have to pay attention to the fact that a lot of the processes within an organization is no longer manual. Okay, if you go to a modern day organization, business organization right now, you will see that a lot of the organizations have a bedrock or they have a fundamental layer of software, okay, or software that allows them to actually monitor the marketing activities that they actually want to do, to communicate with each other, to communicate with other departments, to keep track of their products and services. Most organizations now depend on software packages. Okay, so what does that mean? That means that when we want to take our plans and we want to bring our plans, that would mean that in a modern day organization, we need to have management systems. And typically, these management systems are based on the right software. That means whoever is in charge of the department has to choose the right software for that organization. Okay, and specifically for marketing departments, they would have this thing called marketing resource management. Okay, so marketing resource management would be any and all the software that allows them to manage their entire project management, campaign management, budget, asset, and so on and so forth. So when it's broken down like this, you very quickly realize, oh, nak buat satu project tu dalam sesuatu organisasi, actually there are a lot of things that I have to pay attention to. Dia bukan sekadar kita buat nasi lemak tu and then jual nasi lemak tu. Kita juga kena tengok, okay, kita nak buat campaign apa, macam mana kita nak manage campaign tu, kita nak guna software apa, advertisement tu masuk guna software apa. So we have to track all this. Okay, we have to track all this. And then we also have to track all the financials that actually go on, make sure that our payment is actually made to the vendors, make sure that we negotiate the good price and so on and so forth. So now you're starting to see, kalau I buat kerja marketing, okay, let's say I join a marketing department, let's say it's Unilever, a fast-moving consumer goods punya brand. Untuk satu brand tu, untuk satu tahun tu, mungkin saya ada 20 aktiviti ataupun saya ada 30 aktiviti. 30 aktiviti tu, I seorang as the executive, I kena manage semuanya. And I punya manager, I will actually oversee, okay, I tengah buat apa dengan, let's say, a brand tu, ialah brand Cadbury ataupun dia adalah brand Dynamo, for example. I kena manage semua, okay? So I have to come up with the campaigns with, of course, the help of the department, and then I have to also make sure that the whole array of the marketing activities, kalau ada 30, kalau marketing activities dia 15, you have to see it from inception sampai dia tamat, kena monitor segala-galanya. So naturally, you know that proses ni bukan manual, alright, dan proses ni akan ikut cara management of that particular organisation. So typically in organizations, you'll see that they depend on dia punya marketing resource management punya software, and then within the organization, they will also have different types of software to actually manage dia punya financial information lah, manage dia punya staff lah dan sebagainya. Okay, so what's the point of using these softwares, these management systems that companies design for themselves? So the point of using all this is because they want to make sure that they can actually do it efficiently. All right, they can actually do it efficiently. So you can imagine already companies who do not like wastage. So naturally, they don't expect that when they actually implement a project that it will be very laborious and manually you kena buat satu sampai bila you nak siap, right? So naturally, they will think of the most efficient way that they can actually put into their company. And as a new initiate that joins the marketing department, the new staff will then learn, oh, okay, cara dia buat macam ni. Okay, cara dia buat macam ni, management style dia macam ni. So that's where it's basically the new initiate will learn on the job. All right. So here, we also have the next one, which is marketing control. Okay. I think this idea you all are very familiar with because every time we talk about marketing activities, whether it is advertising or social media activities or getting an influencer to talk about a product, you know very well that kita kena ada kayu ukur. You know very well that we usually use some metrics to actually see whether that particular activity is actually effective or not. You also, during your studies, you would have seen or heard that you need to make sure that the money that is spent is actually spent well. That means berbaloi lah. They spend so much money, pay the influencer to actually do the promotion. They have to know that it is actually berbaloi. So to see if it's berbaloi, what they need to do is they need to see what are the returns that they get. So number of views, number of shares, number of return on investment, dia punya sales dan sebagainya, dia kena monitor. So I know most of you already know this. They memang established already from the first semester until now. You know very well there's this thing called metrics that you actually use to measure your marketing activities. Okay. So now formally I introduce to you, this is called marketing control. Okay, marketing control. So inside marketing control, what the organization is doing is they have to monitor what is actually going on. Okay, they have to monitor what is actually going on so that they are able to assess the effects of their marketing activities. Okay, dia memang nak tengok, okay, aktiviti kita yang kita plan ni bagus ke tak, efficient ke tak, does it actually give us our returns or not? Alright, so the assumption here is that there is no hard and fast rule of what companies should do. So it's up to them, their creativity and their understanding of their consumer base, target markets, to actually choose the activities that they should do, choose what they want to pay for. So that is at the prerogative of the marketing department. Dia kena pilih aktiviti mana yang dia rasa sesuai untuk brand dia, sesuai untuk dia punya produk, sesuai untuk dia punya target market, dan boleh mencerminkan message yang dia nak talk about. Okay? So here, when we talk about this marketing control, sebenarnya, there are many different levels of control. Okay, which you can see here, type of control. Type of control, sebenarnya dia ada a few types. And we start from the number one. You can see here, this one talks about dia punya annual plan punya control. Annual plan punya control. So inside the name itself, they already give you a hint that this means that on a yearly basis, apa yang dia nak monitor. Okay, apa yang dia nak monitor. Right. So here, apa yang dia nak monitor on a yearly basis is to see whether dia punya objectives, dia punya goals can actually be achieved. Right? And we're talking about this one, a higher level punya viewpoint. Okay, a more big picture punya view is a higher level punya viewpoint. So how do they go about and look at this annual plan punya control yearly? What is the approach that they will use? So you can see here, okay, dia akan tengok dia punya sales number. Dia akan tengok dia punya market share punya analysis. That means in comparison with the other competitors that are inside the marketplace, how are they doing? Are they the number one spot? Are they the number two spot? Are they the number three? Or maybe they are a small player. Okay, so it really depends on the company, what the company can do, or what is the vision for the company, for them to be comfortable in whichever position they are. But definitely they will monitor, right? What is their market share punya analysis, right? And then they will also be very concerned about how they are spending money. So based on how much sales they actually get, it is a result of how much money they actually have to spend to get those sales. So is this efficient or not typically, right? So you can see here, these are different approaches suggested that these are the typical ones or the common ones that we use to actually measure annual plan control. Okay. So other than that, you can see here, there's also profitability control. And profitability control is done by the marketing punya division ataupun marketing punya department. And here it's very straightforward. They just want to know whether the company is making or losing money. So when you see that the objective is actually to see whether the company is making money or not, you might think that we just use one approach, which is profitability. Okay, like you've already learned in, I think some of you have taken accounts before, right? So you know you can actually get a figure right at the end in terms of your profitability. But in actual fact, when we are in the marketing division or the marketing department, we can actually break it down further into what are possible categories of the different products, services, customer segments, and so on. So these are just suggestions. it really depends on what type of business it is. So if it's a goods product, and it is a goods product which the company organizes by, let's say, dia punya geographical location, then maybe we look at territory. Is the product selling more in Penang? Why? Is the product selling better in Johor? Why? Okay, what contributes to it? Okay, so I just give you a simple example. Let's say let's say I'm in a company where we sell baldi, baldi, uh, bucket, right? Let's say I'm in a company and we sell buckets, and I noticed that buckets sell very well uh, in June, July, May, June, July, the buckets sell very well. Okay, and the sales in what do you call that? The sales in Selangor is actually a lot higher in May, June, July than other territories. So what could be the reasons for this? The reason could be May, June, July, we always have musim panas, and you will see that the water supply in Klang Valley always get cut, right? So when the water supply in Klang Valley always get cut, you see that people go to the shops and they buy a lot of buckets and baldi to actually takung the air, to actually keep the water and so on and so forth. So we know that, okay, certain months by certain territory, we actually get a lot of profitability from that particular area because of certain things that are happening in terms of dia punya sales di sana. So when we do all these controls, what we're trying to find out is, are there any differences or not? And then we also want to track what is actually going on. And of course, we need to understand why. Why does the consumer behave that way during that period of time, or for that particular segment? Why is their behavior that way? Okay. Then we go into efficiency control. Okay, so for efficiency control, what we're doing here is we want to make sure that we can continuously improve kita punya marketing, and to make sure that kita punya expenditure, whatever we spend lah, right, is done in a very efficient manner. So therefore, you can see that this is within their punya department, right? Within their punya department, they can actually go and see whether these items are actually efficient or not. So again, it's also the same here, in a sense that it really depends on the type of business that we're looking at and what is actually suitable for their business. So for example, if we are looking at a business to business punya organization, that means, for example, it could be a company like Dow Chemicals, and Dow Chemicals, as the name suggests, sells chemicals. So we can already imagine, okay, they are selling chemicals to other businesses. So other businesses can then process it into other things. Okay. So when you're selling manufacturing punya materials, we assume maybe that the sales is actually a little bit more complex. It might not be something that we go to Shopee and then we just pilih and then we put inside a cart and check out. So here maybe there's some negotiation process that needs to go on. The sales team needs to go to company A to actually discuss what are the chemicals that they want, how it will be delivered, what are the quantities, and so on and so forth. And there might be technical components to that discussion that somebody like a chemist would be able to do, or somebody who's trained in chemicals will be able to have that conversation. Okay, so for some businesses, they might actually need a big sales force, and they also have to monitor the efficiency of that sales force. All right. So as most of you know, salespeople usually have some leeway in terms of time and also spending because they have to go and see their clients. So the question here is that, is what they're doing actually efficient or not? Are they, when they take their client out for a drink, or they they spend 2-3 hours in the client's office, is that actually worthwhile? Is that the efficient way to do things, right? So this is where whoever is in charge of the sales team will need to have some sort of efficiency control. So they have to figure out, for our team, what is the best criteria that we actually use to see whether our sales force is actually efficient or not. So that's just one example, right? Whereas for a company that maybe sells fast-moving consumer goods ataupun they sell day-to-day punya products, or is a restaurant of some sort, then you can imagine that maybe they will not be monitoring the sales force, especially if it is a goods that don't require sales force. They might actually monitor instead their punya advertising. So let's take a brand that always advertises, like for example, McDonald's. So McDonald's ads are very common. You always see them in YouTube. You also see their billboards everywhere, right? When you're driving in key areas that are highly populated with a McDonald's nearby, you will see the big billboard that's customized for that state, right? So here they might actually see whether choosing the type of advertising through the media that they actually use is actually efficient or not. Okay, so here what they do is that they will see whether, let's say if they choose YouTube, they will monitor and see how many people are exposed to the YouTube punya advertisement, how many people have watched it. And then if there's any conversion right away, that means that they watch the video, they click on the app, and then they start to order, ada conversion ke tak, right? So they can use this type of efficiency control to see whether their advertising is actually working or not. Okay? Okay. Then finally, we have strategic control. Okay, strategic control, you can see here, you can already guess. It's like the annual plan control. It's most likely done by the top management. Okay, so here, what they're trying to do through the strategic control is that they are trying to examine whether the organization is pursuing the best opportunities. Okay, and they can do this on different levels. When they look at best opportunities, they can consider it from market's point of view, product's point of view, channel's point of view. So this purpose here, they can actually customize according to how they usually evaluate their punya business in terms of their punya strategic control. So again, it's up to the top management to actually design the system and dictate what is it that they're actually looking at. So of course, this means that you won't find businesses that will just take something from the textbook and then just apply into their business. Rather, they will customize it. They might actually even give it their own name. And they will also go through what are the metrics that are actually available in the market that make sense to their particular business. And this is key or important because businesses are quite different, right? Businesses are quite different. Netflix is very distinct from Jaya Grocer, okay? Because they sell different types of things on different platforms and the business model is also very different. Okay, so they have to figure out, okay, for their strategic control, what is it, how are they actually able to examine, all right, what are the best opportunities for them. Okay, so here you can see some of the typical approaches that these researchers who write the textbook have actually noticed when they actually go through the marketplace and the companies within the marketplace. They have found that typically the approaches that actually use would be things like dia punya marketing audit, okay, marketing excellence review. They can also move away from financial targets and go towards ethical and also social responsibility review. So here what they're trying to do is they're trying to look at the impact on the environment and also if they are actually law abiding, right? And doing the right thing. Okay, so there are some things that they can do here, right? As you can see, there are some approaches that they can use here to actually monitor their punya strategic control. Okay, so why are you learning this? So like I told you earlier, what you need to do is you need to actually propose your punya control. So you need to write it in your report. What is the control that you actually want to use? So that's why I gave you the source of the information. However, if you actually see other marketing management books out there, which are written by scholars, that means they are lecturers from other universities, let's say from US universities like Harvard, Wharton, and so on, you can also use those books. That's not a problem. You can go look at what are the indicators for implementation and control, and then you use your judgment to actually propose the suitable control for your specific marketing plan, since all of you are actually going to go after different businesses. So you have to figure it out lah. So you have to figure out what is suitable for the company you're looking at. Okay. So one other control you should know about is the annual plan control. So in the annual plan control, basically, you would have already figured this out based on what I've been saying so far, where you can already guess that the way or the rationale between control is actually the fact that companies typically on a yearly basis set goals. And because they set goals, they have to measure if they can hit the goal or not. Okay, so this is a continuous exercise that they need to do. And if they cannot hit the goal, they have to do some diagnosis to see what is actually wrong. Okay, or if they do very, very well, they also have to understand what is actually going on. Okay, so typically if they don't do well, or they see that it's very difficult for them to set to reach their punya goal, to reach their objectives and goals, then they have to take corrective action. Because if they don't take corrective action at all, then you can imagine that definitely for the year, they're not going to hit their goals. So if they're not going to hit their goals, and this is a money-making punya department, right? Marketing is a money-making punya department. How are they going to pay their bills, right? How are they going to pay their bills? So here, that's why it's very crucial for them to make sure that they have some sort of annual plan control going on. But annual plan control doesn't mean that at the end of the year, baru dia ukur dan dia tengok what happened. Tidak. It's actually on a week-to-week basis, they can already monitor in real time what is actually going on. Okay, so here you can see that inside this annual plan control, it allows them to actually manage by objectives. So the objectives that they come up with themselves contribute to the goal, right? And the goal actually expresses what they want to achieve. So of course, when they go to work, when they do the things that they do on a daily basis, they do not want all these activities that they do to be wasteful. There is a point to it, right? And the point to it is that they're trying to hit all their objectives and achieve their goals. Okay? Okay. So here you see that there are some more metrics that are actually given to you that you can actually choose according to what is it that you propose that you want to measure for your own marketing campaigns that you will actually propose, or inside your marketing plan, you can actually propose what is it that you actually want to measure. So the catch here is that when we look at the metrics, we want to select the metrics that actually correspond back ataupun dia match balik dengan dia punya objektif dan juga dia punya goal. So, sekiranya goal dia adalah kita nak sales naik by 1%, maka bila kita pilih matrix tu, naturally, matrix tu kita akan pilih antaranya akan ada sales matrix. Okay? If that makes sense to you, can you give me a thumbs up? If that makes sense to you, can you give me a thumbs up? Okay, Firdaus, thank you very much. All right. So let me just repeat that last portion again, yeah? Okay. We have a lot of different types of metrics. Okay. And we need to select the suitable metrics to actually monitor our performance. So if our goal is actually sales naik, all right, sales naik by 1%, then how do we measure the performance? To measure the performance, of course, we need to find the correct punya metrics. So here, if our focus is on sales, kita pilih balik sales punya metrics so that kita boleh measure sama ada sales kita benar-benar meningkat dari in 1% or by 1%. Okay? So what should you not do? Apa yang kita tak nak? Benda yang kita tak nak ialah, let's say I ambil another example. Let's say I ambil example menurunkan berat badan. Okay, so Sekiranya saya nak menurunkan berat badan saya, itu adalah goal saya, macam mana saya nak measure saya punya performance? So saya kena ada matrix yang betul kan? Betul? Right? So kalau saya nak turunkan berat badan saya, then salah satu daripada matrix yang saya kena ada ialah my weight. Saya kena measure weight saya dan tengok weight saya turun ke tak. Selain daripada weight, saya juga boleh menggunakan pengukuran badan. Okay? So bila saya gunakan pengukuran badan, most likely you akan suggest pada saya untuk ukur bahagian pinggan, okay, untuk ukur let's say bahagian peha, untuk tengok sama ada saya menurun, berat badan saya menurun. What you will not suggest to me is saya ukur saiz kepala saya. Alright, you will tell me, kenapa you ukur saiz kepala you when your goal is actually to reduce you punya weight. Right? So my point by saying something like this is to make sure that you understand you need to find the right metrics that actually matches back with you punya goal for your organization. Okay? Okay. So this one I won't go into details sebab kat tadi just now on top we've already mentioned dia punya profitability dan juga dia punya efficiency punya controls, right? Okay, but you boleh tengok sendiri so that it can further clarify the idea inside your head. And you can also read the book if you actually want. Okay, boleh saja. If you get the book and you read the book. Okay, let's go to marketing audit. For marketing audit, I need to touch a little bit. All right, so please bear with me. Okay, so at this stage, most of you also know what an audit is, right? And you know that inside businesses, there are many types of audit that we can do. We can do accounting audit, we can do finance audit, and similarly for marketing also, we can actually do a marketing punya audit. And most of you already know that when we do an audit, audit is not done every year. Audit is done periodically. Okay, so there is a period of time where the time goes by, and then after that they do the audit. Okay, so audit you can see here is actually a very in-depth punya analysis. Dan inside an audit, it actually takes quite a bit of time and also quite a lot of effort. And sometimes it will take up quite a lot of time within the marketing punya department, right? So you can go and see here yourselves what the definition of the audit actually is. And typically what we need to understand is that it's done in a systematic manner and is done as independent as possible. So it's not possible that the marketing manager audits their own department. Tak mungkin. Rather, they will try to get other parties in to actually come in and look at the whole functionality of the department. They'll look at the money portion of the department. They'll look at the efficiency part of the department. And what they're trying to do is they're trying to evaluate whether they can do things better. Okay? They're trying to evaluate whether they can do things better. So they are actually looking for, any problem areas and opportunities. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is that there's a lot typical, it will be typical perception in Malaysia where we feel an audit is actually something that menyusahkan. Okay, buat susah je. Okay, buat susah je. They come into our department, ask us to prepare this, prepare that, prepare everything. What is this audit actually for? Okay, so this audit, the reason why dia pilih independent, okay, somebody that's independent is because the independent person doesn't have any attachment to their programs and also how that department is actually run. So for the independent punya auditor, they are just trying to improve their punya way of running their punya department. So that's why what they're trying to look for is opportunities. Can they improve even further? And also if there are any problem areas, they want to highlight it so that the whole company can actually improve and the marketing department can actually improve. So that's actually the intention of doing an audit, not really to actually menyusahkan everybody or to tangkap people or to punish people. That's not really why it's actually for. Okay. So you can see here, there are some criteria when we run an audit. One, it needs to be comprehensive, okay, systematic, independent, and periodic, right? Periodic. So we're not trying to do this every year. Huh? Doing it every year will be a lot of effort. Will be a lot of effort. So what the top management need to do, or what the head of marketing needs to do, is they need to design themselves how often they actually want to do this. And you can see that if they actually do it in a periodic manner, that means maybe they do 3 years once or 5 years once, it actually helps them to break out of their punya rut. You know, rut is when you do something so many times that you have a certain way of doing it, right? It's like almost automatic. You always do the same thing, the same thing, same thing. So these exercises will actually challenge the people in the department to consider whether, this way of doing it is no longer, no longer makes sense to us actually. That's why we have some problems here. So maybe we should transition it into some other method which actually makes more sense to our organization. So it gives opportunities to actually do this. So here, I can imagine that for all of you, you will think, perlu ke, betul-betul perlu ke? But if you actually go in and work in an organization for 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, whatever it is, or work in the industry for a long period of time, you will actually see that those industries actually change over time. Dia akan ada perubahan. So naturally, those perubahan will come from somewhere, right? Will come from somewhere. Kena ada motivation untuk perubahan tu. And usually, kalau ada perubahan, that means that it is usually required that perubahan is actually done so that the company can actually keep up with actually what's going on inside the marketplace, right? So you can see here, as I told you, marketing audit is actually very comprehensive. So there are actually many parts to it, starting with dia punya macro environment. Okay, then dia masuk dia punya task environment, tempat dia bekerja, right? And then you can also see dekat sini dia ada dia punya strategy. So remember, these type of audits, the company will decide themselves. They will decide themselves what they want to focus on. So in this example, they actually break it into dia nak question dia punya business mission, okay, dia punya objectives, goals, strategy. And you boleh nampak dekat sini, they already have some questions that they can actually prepare and they're trying to find the evidence for all these questions that they actually want to answer. So dia kena masuk kepada department tu dan dia akan tengok lah, okay, kalau kita nak jawab ni, dan kita kena tengok ni A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, kita tengok A, B, C, D, E, F, G, then we will evaluate whether benda tu is actually efficient or not, make sense or not. Then they will come up with their punya results of their punya audit. Okay, so an audit isn't clueless punya, ya. It's actually designed specifically to meet whatever objectives that the top management actually, the information that the top management want to get from the audit punya process. Okay, so you can see here, as I told you, dia memang ada banyak parts to it, and it is extensive in the sense that they will cover quite a lot of places, like even the 4 Ps they cover, to actually see whether things can actually be done very, very well. And given how extensive it is, therefore, tak mungkin you boleh buat every year benda ni. Okay, so they have to know what is the appropriate timing, periodic timing, that can be suitable for their company to get the most out of this audit punya exercise. So therefore, you can also look at it, and indirectly, you can also see that audit punya exercise mungkin is not the cheapest exercise ever, because it takes up a lot of their staff punya time. They might also have to hire, sometimes they hire outside auditors, or they have their own internal auditors that they have to task to work, right? So those are all expenditure, time is all expenditure, so they have to decide carefully what they want to do. All right, then at the end here, we have the marketing excellence review. So for the marketing excellence review, what they're trying to do is they're trying to see where they are, right? They're trying to see where they are, whether they are poor, good, or excellent, right? And so here, what will happen is that they're trying to find out if they have any weaknesses or not. they also want to see if they actually have any strengths. If they have strengths, then good, they will try to maintain the strengths. However, if they have weaknesses, what they need to do is they need to improve their weaknesses lah. So in our culture, weaknesses are typically seen as something that's very embarrassing. Kalau kita tahu kita tak boleh buat benda tu, kita macam tak nak bagi orang tahu. Sebab we assume that it's like buka aib orang, right? So like kita nak malukan orang and things like that. So tak boleh cakap. Tak boleh cakap. Kalau ada weakness tu tak boleh cakap. But in business is a little bit more different because if we don't address in business what we cannot do well, that business might actually see customers running away to their competitors. So the weaknesses actually cost them money at the end of the day, or weaknesses actually cost them sales at the end of the day. So if the company is already weak at that thing, it actually makes more sense for the company to address it. They don't have to overnight be the greatest at certain things, but if they actually look at whatever weaknesses that they have, and over time dia ada initiative untuk slowly improve, mungkin one day they can actually be the market leader, or ataupun mungkin one day they will see that a lot of their attributes are actually excellent. So it takes time lah, and it also takes conscious punya effort. So in a business, the mindset is a little bit more different. Weaknesses are not something that we have to hide away and don't admit. But actually, weaknesses are something that we need to address inside a business. Okay. Otherwise, I wonder if the business will continue to exist. Right. Okay. So that's about implementation and control. At the top here, okay, at the top here, this is from Marshall and Johnson punya marketing management. These two are another two gurus. And inside their book, they actually this one is already inside Kotler. If you actually look for it, you should be able to find it. They also explain what is SBU. This is already inside Kotler. However, portfolio analysis is no longer inside Kotler. Kotler used to have it, but he took it out after that in the future textbooks that he wrote. So I'm just going to highlight a bit here just to mention that when organizations are looking at multiple businesses, let's say it's a Sime Darby group ataupun Disney group where they have a lot of businesses, and they're trying to evaluate which is the business that actually makes a lot of money, has got a lot of potential, they can actually use tools, right? And the two tools here is the Boston Consulting Group Share Metrics and also the GE Business Screen. Okay, this is not in your syllabus. You don't have to know this, but because it's already inside the slide, I'm just going to show you that there is such a thing called portfolio analysis. So portfolio tu apa? The portfolio of the businesses that Disney company actually has. And inside their punya portfolio punya analysis, what they're trying to do is they're trying to see which of their businesses has a lot of growth potential, market growth rate, which is based on the market growth rate, dan juga comparatively by terms of share, which are the major companies around. Okay, so then they can position to see which has the most potential and which is the business that they can actually grow into a market leader punya position. Right, so that's how they evaluate. Between businesses, of course, they have to use certain criteria. So this gives you an idea of what could be some criteria they actually use. For GE Business Screen, you can see here, they use attractiveness and also business position. So the point here ialah, whatever metrics or whatever tool they use to actually do their punya portfolio punya analysis, that means they look at the basket of businesses that they have and they try to evaluate which one has more potential. The important thing here is what is the criteria that they actually use inside their punya metrics atau inside their punya tool to help them make that decision. So without these tools, it can be quite complex. I mean, in the first place, this is not easy decision to make, lah. Right? If you are the CEO or if you are the investor, these are not easy decisions to make. There are a lot of points that you have to consider. So that's why you see that they try to introduce tools like that in the hopes that these tools actually help these decision makers make informed decision. So an informed decision would mean that they are not making a decision just based on their gut feel. So it's not based on, oh, I like the fellow's face. Oh, the hair is orange. I like orange. Okay. Or the person is wearing a very lucky number I like. So therefore I choose that person's business. So it's not like that. Rather, it's a technical analysis. And inside this technical analysis, it could be informed by things like the business punya attractiveness dan juga dia punya position di dalam marketplace. Alright. So a lot of things in business is actually requires quite a lot of data and quite a lot of analysis. So those bosses at the top, they are not really functional bosses are not actually going to the golf course every day and then playing golf lah, right? Rather, they actually have to have decision-making skills, and inside the decision-making skills, they have to continuously learn what are the important indicators to actually pay attention to. Okay? Okay. So that's all about our slide today. You would also have noticed that, let me just swap my slides. You would also have noticed that in Google Classroom, I've already shared a video link. Betul? Ada? Yang nampak benda ni? Okay. So if you go to Google Classroom, you will see that I've already posted. Oh, hang on. Hang on, yeah. I actually want you to, okay, this one. Market-driven strategies. Ada nampak dekat Google Classroom? Kalau ada, can you give me a thumbs up? Okay, ada ya. Thanks, Firdaus. Thanks, Aisha. Okay, so what you're supposed to do with the remainder of the time is that you are supposed to go and watch this YouTube video. Okay, this YouTube video from this Atok lah, alright? I call him Atok because he's already 88 years old. And his name is Professor George. Strategies. So he's looking at the strategic marketing side of a company, all right? And he shares a lot of wisdom from over the years. He's very experienced. So over the years, what has he learned? What has he observed? He's sharing it in a very short video. So this is an overview of what you need to pay attention to when you're thinking about strategic marketing. Okay, so in the early parts of the video, he talks about himself lah. He's being interviewed and he gives a history lah of how he actually started in marketing. And then later on, he highlights what are the key things. So the key things that he highlight, you will notice that it actually overlaps with everything that you've already learned inside chapter 2. So he will highlight what are the key things. So I want you all to actually pay attention to what are the key ideas that he actually shares in this short video lah. So the hint is already here, customer value leadership. All right. So Professor Josh Lee is actually very, very experienced, and he has been a consultant in many big companies in United States. So that means that he has access to the CEO, he advises the CEO, he clarifies the ideas with the chief marketing officer and the marketing team. So we are not dealing with a normal everyday punya person on the street. This is a very, very experienced punya guru. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the video. And please listen from minute 7 onwards if you don't want to tune into his history and so on. Okay? Okay. Are there any questions before we go? Ada soalan tak? Tak ada? Tak ada soalan? Okay. So I'm actually looking at your attendance right now, the Excel sheet. And there are a few people missing. Ada 1, 2, 3, 4. Orang-orang yang missing ni you kat mana Farihin, sorry. You belum masuk you punya attendance. And then who else? Hanif. Hanif ada ke kat sini? Siapa kawan Hanif? Mana dia? Sudah bangun ke? Izan? Is Izan sick? Kenapa belum masuk? And also the last person would be Zulfadli. Siapa kawan Zulfadli? Tak ada orang nak jawab. Okay, so if they are your friends, I'm sure they are your friends, you're already in 5th semester, please ask them to attend class. And please tell them that they need to come in and take their attendance also lah. Okay? I hope nobody tertinggal. This is the first time kita buat 5th semester ODL. So please jangan tertinggal lah because you're already in 5th semester already. Tak berbaloi langsung. So yeah, if your friends tercicir, please remind your friends to come to class. Boleh? Thank you, Sophia. Thank you, Aisha. Thank you, Amma. Right. Thanks, Hanif, Daniel. Okay, so that's all for today. Please make sure you watch the video lah, whether you watch it right now or you want to watch it later, that's up to you. All right. So that's all. I'll see you all next week. Take care. Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, madam.
Bye.
Thank you, madam.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, madam.
Bye.